What is going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. We're here, another tier list video for the month of August 2022. This year is just flying by, guys, and this is going to be a pretty cool one, but, you know, we are right before the release of Film Red stuff, so I assume that next month's tier list is probably going to be exciting. I hope so. I hope that Film Red releases with a Super Sugo Fest and releases a really cool character. That's what we're hoping for, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But what you're looking at right now is the exact layout that I had in the previous month's tier list video. So we're going to go ahead and make some changes to some of these characters and see where I rank them just between last month and this month. And then down the bottom here we have some additional characters. We have the 6+ Katakuri, we have the Zora and Sanji, which released on One Piece Day, and then we have the two new Sugo Fest exclusives, the Yukata Ulti and Hiyori, so we'll be ranking them in this video today. But before we do that, we need to talk about my own personal criteria that I have for ranking each of these characters. Ultimately, there is the power of the legend, how much damage can they output, and how fast are they at clearing that said content, and then also how reliable are they at clearing the content as well, and is there content out there that they literally cannot beat? Like, is there stuff out there that just totally walls that particular character from clearing it, and how usable and versatile a character is. So can a character be put on multiple different teams? Are they used on teams where they're not even boosted just because the character is so good? That in particular is a very, very useful mechanic. So all of those will go into creating this tier list, and you know, obviously it's not perfect. I don't think any tier list is perfect, but this is what we have going on. Let's go ahead and get cooking with tier 5. So are there any changes that need to occur with tier 5? I mean, just looking at it briefly, I don't see anything in particular that's really out of the blue. I think Cavendish probably needs to go down. I think Rogue is just absolutely terrible. I think he's still better than Magellan though, to be honest. Sabo Koala is definitely better than Sengoku still. But I think the rest of this is relatively fair for where it was. I did use Cracker a little bit in the month, and I felt him to be actually pretty good. He probably should be up a little bit more. He's really, really nice. Looking into tier 4 though, we've got, you know, Carrot at the top there. Carrot's still pretty solid. Rayleigh's very nice. I'm not a big fan of his level limit break, what they decided to do with it overall. I think the captain ability is pretty bad. They could have done something to make it a little bit stronger, I think, but overall it is what it is. You got a super type Katakuri. We got the Vivi and Rebecca. We have Arlong crew. Germa is pretty good. Germa probably need to be buffed up a little bit. I think Sakuzuki should be bumped up a little bit. He's actually super useful. And then we got V1 Whitebeard, which of course I have made the level limit break showcase video for. He's pretty decent, but definitely not a character I would use too much, in all honesty. And then we got Katakuri. Honestly, with all of the additions of the recent Powerhouse characters, I think Katakuri probably should be bumped up. I think I'm going to bump him up like a lot, like maybe around here, something like that. I think he deserves to be up there. But I don't think any of these characters necessarily deserve to go downwards, honestly. I think a lot of these characters deserve to be where they kind of are placed. This seems pretty reasonable to me. And then we have tier 3. So tier 3, we have a lot of characters here. I think Bullet should not be as high. I don't seem to be very useful. I really hope he receives a level limit break. That can make this character so insane. Just all the movie characters in general, they all need buffs. And I think that if they did receive some buffs, then yeah, these characters are going to be pretty busted. Izo Okiku's still terrible. I did use Borcelino and Koala a lot during this month, and I think that they should definitely be buffed up. Honestly, I think that even Lucci, I used Lucci a little bit too. He was very surprising. He was super good. Like, just if you look at Lucci's abilities on paper, he's not a bad unit. He's pretty incredible when you really think about it. He's ridiculous, and he's really good in Rumble too, mind that. What else we got? We got, you know, Luffy Sanji. I'm not a fan of Luffy Sanji, to be honest. Corazon with level limit break, of course. Marco level limit break. All these level limit break characters, which they're really good, but they're nowhere near, like, you know, tier 0 broken. I think the only level limit break so far that I would say is pretty close to being like tier 0 broken is probably Kuzan. I think Kuzan's ability upgrades were way too good, honestly. Who else have we got here? Sober Mask, who is definitely weaker nowadays, considering how many powerful special abilities that we have. Reiju, and then V1 Lucci, obviously very good with his level limit break as well. This seems pretty reasonable to me. We got tier 2 coming up. Who's who I actually did pull in the month, actually, and I used him a little bit, and yeah, I think that around tier 2 is honestly, I think I ranked him pretty decently, all things considered. Like, he's a really decent speed farming captain, but like, if I'm gonna speed farm, I'd probably use something else. He's probably not my go-to option, but he seems okay. Karen Wanda is still pretty solid. I enjoy using them. I really want to get Legend Smoothie. I don't have her yet, but she looks really, really good on paper, and very, very good, actually. She was very good for the treasure map that released throughout the month as well. V1 Kaido, I kind of want to bump him down a little bit. I feel like the importance of V1 Kaido has kind of dwindled a little bit. Like, he just doesn't seem like the type of unit that he once was. We haven't really needed to use a character like V1 Kaido. Like, yeah, you could still use him to cheese a lot of content, but the thing is like, if you want to actually get through content quickly, it's actually better to use like specials that can get you there rather than using end of turn damage, especially due to, you know, normal attacks only being as prevalent as it is. So I think Kaido's still solid, but I mean, I think Kaido crew probably is more important to have because they have the more useful effects. Like, I think the super switcher they have as a captain, like, I feel like that's just more versatile and more useful than what Kaido can provide. I'm not saying Kaido's a bad unit, it's just he's less important than what he once was. Halloween hybrids are still really, really good. I use them not too much, but they're still good together to resist paralysis and despair between Law and Mihawk. Very, very nice. I think a lot of people using Sugar throughout the month as well. But I think with the introduction of Super Tandem, has definitely made Sugar not as valuable because she was mainly used in Kizuna to increase your damage because of her chain multiplicative effects with her toy soldiers. But of course, with level limit break, characters are able to exceed 2500 base attack. So when you turn a character into a toy soldier, I believe they revert back to 2500 base attack, which is obviously a big problem. You lose damage there. And also because when her toy soldiers attack, they don't hit perfects, they hit a different type of tap timing, which means that you cannot activate Super Tandem with it. So I think Sugar actually has dropped in power level a little bit, so probably want to drop it to around about that, though I really don't like this Big Mom. I think this Big Mom is a terrible design. I know a lot of people have been able to do really good things with her, but man, she's just disappointing. And then we got Final Tap Luffy. I still think Final Tap Luffy is pretty solid. Like, he's a really good contender for being pretty much tier 1. I think he's really good sitting at the top of tier 2 though. And then looking at tier 1, we've got some very good characters in here now. We're getting to the good stuff. I think Kaido versus Big Mom, they need to get dropped pretty heavily, I think. I think around here is okay for them. Probably a little bit above Halloween Hybrid, maybe above Boa. I feel comfortable putting him in this position. Kaido versus Big Mom, it just not really needed that much anymore. Of course, on release, and for many, many months now, they've been good, but like, when was the last time you guys honestly used Kaido versus Big Mom? Because I don't even remember the last time I used them. Maybe in Pirate Rumble, but outside of that, yeah, this character hasn't seen a lot of play. But then look at everything above that. We've got, you know, Marco, who I did use quite a lot this month. He's actually surprising me in terms of how good he actually is, because, like, yeah, a lot of people are going to use him for EXP farming, but the actual unit himself in content is very good. He's a very, very solid captain. I actually used Cat Viper a lot more than Dogstorm this month, surprisingly. I found Cat Viper to be a little bit more useful here and there. I think Moria probably can go down a little bit, and Kinemon and Denjiro, yeah, I think they need to go down a little bit as well. Shanks crew, they also need to go down a little bit. We've got Law, probably needs to go down a little bit too, to be honest. Crocodile, I still respect what Crocodile does. Blackbeard, didn't see a lot of play this month, unfortunately, for me. And then we've got Black Maria, who I don't have currently, but I also kind of want to bump her down a little bit, honestly, as well. King I did use quite a lot. King is still pretty good. I love King. He's wicked. And we got, you know, Akainu and Capone crew, who are still, you know, they're just chilling. They're just chilling. I'm pretty happy with how this is going in terms of the characters. I don't think any of these need to be bumped down at the moment. None of them need to be bumped up. Speaking of bumping up, let's go up to tier 0. And here we got the top 5 as well. A lot of strong characters in here. So Sasaki, I definitely think still deserves to be up here. You know, you got the waifus, and you got Shirahoshi Mancherry. You know, Shirahoshi Mancherry, they were just one of those characters you can just, you know, plug into any team and they're just going to be good. Kuzan, obviously, as I said earlier, probably the best level limit break that we've seen thus far for a character. Just the buffs that they receive is just nuts. And we got Drake. I think Drake needs to go up. I think he needs to go up. I'm going to bump him up to here. Just him and Kaido. It's next level stuff, honestly. And we got Odin. Odin I didn't use too much, but he is good. I used a little bit of Frankie, to be honest. And we got Queen, we got Law, Whitebeard versus Shanks, who is still very good. Bon Clay, man. Bon Clay. What can I say about Bon Clay? That man is still a beast. I didn't use Kid that much throughout the month, unfortunately. I really like Kid, but I just didn't use him that much. And we got Odin, who I didn't really use too much either. I did use him in my Super Boss team. He was pretty good for what he was doing, honestly. Law and this Luffy are so good. They are so good, and I'm honestly tempted to move them up even higher. But Ace versus Akainu, I think it's the Ace problem, to be honest, because, you know, Ace, he's a shooter and free spirit captain, and he does have the ability to resist special reverse, which is very unique. Not too many characters have that. But if I'm building just a shooter or free spirit team, well, shooter, you could probably use Ace, but for free spirit specifically, there's a lot of other characters I would rather use as my captain for free spirit over you know, this Ace. I mean, literally this Luffy right here. But then you got the component of Akainu, and Akainu heavily carries this unit, honestly. He's just so good. Driven and Powerhouse are extremely good, and he's got the really unique ability of him igniting the enemy with his captain ability, which is good. He's got still a very good special too. It's really hard to bump this down, because I really want to put Luffy above like these characters here, to be honest. I want to put Luffy there, and I kind of want to put Law like up around this tier as well. Like, Law is ridiculously good. It's such a good synergy between these two characters, despite Law being super cerebral and Luffy being super free spirit. There's still good synergy between them, of course. And then we got Toki, and unfortunately Toki has been kind of nerfed. In Kizuna, they really nerfed her in the latest one. They really did not want you to use her, and I believe in the Kizuna before that with Roger, they didn't really want you to use Toki either. So I feel like that might be kind of a thing that they're trying to experiment with, because they saw how powerful Toki was as a character in that kind of content, and the fact that you can just use her to just cheese content, right? You know, just using her to make two characters hit extremely hard, and you don't have to worry about it. But then if they make it so that there's lots of mini bosses, or like the mini bosses are a little bit finicky, or there's just a lot of gimmicks that don't really work with Toki in certain ways, then yeah, Toki can definitely be not as useful as she once was. But then we've got the characters in the top 5. Now, the top 3, they're not going to be changing at all. The last two, though, with Yamato and Ace and Yamato. You know what's something that's kind of controversial that I kind of want to do? I kind of want to put Kaido as the second best unit in the game. This man is way too good. I mean, all throughout this month, there's been so many situations where I'm like, oh my god, I wish I had my Kaido at level 5 Super Tandem for X content. Of course, you can still use a friend captain, but still, just having your own one at level 5 is so good. I love this character. He is really, really good. And you got, you know, I'm not saying Roger Whitebeard is worse in any sense. Like, Roger Whitebeard is still really good. I don't know what to say, man. But I just think Kaido, he is way too good. I think they really did a good job with the way they built the character. And the same with Luffy. Like, a lot of the Luffy legends that come out, they're like, obviously, like, really boring. But this Luffy is so good. I don't know, man. I think this Luffy kind of needs to be bumped up a little bit as well over Toki at the moment. Just because Toki didn't really see a lot of play throughout the month, she might be bumped up again next month. We'll have to wait and see. But then we've got Yamato, and then we've got Ace and Yamato. I think Ace and Yamato still deserves to be in the top 5. And then you got regular Yamato as well. You know, there's the utility captain abilities, the Wano slots, and then you got the conditional boost with this character. I feel pretty comfortable leaving everything where it is at the moment. But as for tier 0, obviously a little bit of change, but not too much. But let's go ahead and start adding some of these new characters here. So we have 6+ Katakuri. So obviously I'm a big fan of Katakuri. Many of you guys would know that. I think Katakuri definitely deserves to be on this tier list. I think he's a very good character. I think he deserves to be in tier 1 or tier 2. Probably tier 1 because of the vast array of characters that he can boost, and you can chuck him on teams, even on teams where he's not fully boosted, to get multiple turns of an attack boost, and you can still kind of cheese content with his tap timing bonus damage if there is no normal attacks only. I think with level limit break, with the super evolution, Katakuri does become a very, very strong character. In terms of where I would probably place him though, I think he's around like this level, around this level around here. I feel pretty comfortable putting him in that position there. And then we've got Zora and Sanji. So Zora and Sanji, they're an interesting one because I'm not really the biggest fan of the way that they structured the character, but I can respect what they have done here, and I think that this character is still going to see some play whenever you're up against int content or up against quick content. this character is still probably going to be really good for that. Anytime they come out with a new batch that is focused around Dex characters, Zora and Sanji are probably going to find their way onto teams for their amazing abilities that they can provide. Plus, they've got a super type special that can activate somewhat easily. You know, they are a Zora and Sanji character themselves, but having to just have one other Straw Hat on the team, you know, you can even use Frankie, for example. I think Frankie's a really good option with them. They're pretty good, and I think all of that being said, they probably deserve to be at the bottom of tier 1, probably around here. I feel comfortable leaving him here. They could be bumped a little bit more. Kinemon and Denjiro probably need to go down a little bit more. I think I want to put Kinemon and Denjiro here. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. I'm pretty happy with that positioning of these characters. And then we've got the two Yukata characters in Ulti and Hiyori. I think we'll leave them for now as we go ahead and explore the level limit breaks. We'll leave the brand new batch characters until the very end. So the first character we'll talk about is Sakuzuki with the level limit break. Obviously, he's more focused on strength characters. He can do some really good stuff, but this character is probably only going to see play if you are up against Dex content. If the content does not have Dex enemies, there is no way in hell you are using Akainu to beat it. So for that reason, I want to put him on the list, but put him relatively low. And I think I want to put him around this level right here. Because if you're not against Dex content, this character's not going to be that good for you. It's just, it is what it is. I don't make the rules here. It is what it is. However, speaking of another character that received level limit break that gave him absurd buffs is Kuzan. They have made this character so much better than what he was previously. And all things considered, I want to put him in tier 2. I think this character's very good. In terms of where I would put him in tier 2, I think he's probably around this level. His special ability becoming, you know, 1,000,000 damage AoE, and a 2.75 chain boundary, and a very usable captain ability that can, it's a rainbow captain. You can use anything you want. He has cooldown reduction as well, and it just relies on you continuously beating stuff up, continuously killing something at the end of every turn. And obviously if you lose the stacks, you go down to a lower multiplier, but the multiplier isn't even that bad either. They've done a really good job with his level limit break, and I'm excited to see what other characters get level limit breaks in the future just because of characters like this. It's awesome. They just give a lot of love to Kuzan, which is good to see. He deserves it. So Kuzan's a very good character. And then they did give one to Law, and unfortunately, Law's is pretty bad in terms of the buffs. But the thing is they've enhanced the numbers and they have made him usable. You can definitely use him in content. Is he going to be optimal for content? No, he's not, but he's a slasher and free spirit captain. Free spirit are one of the best classes in the game. His special ability is essentially unchanged, but if the enemy does not have a full immunity buff, you can really make use of his special ability at that point. So I want to put him like near the bottom. He's definitely better than Akainu still because of he's free spirit focused rather than strength focused. So I want to probably put him around this level right here. Now, the next character that we have is going to be V2 Fujitora, who, as of the recording of this video, I actually do have him at level 5, and I'll be working on a video on him very, very soon. So, Fujitora, he got a pretty nice buff, but he is still focused only on slasher characters. And slashers aren't the best class in the game by any stretch. They have some nice offensive capabilities, but utility-wise, they're definitely a lot weaker than some of the other classes in the game. I think he's still good, though, because his special ability becomes like a buffed version of Shanks' crew. It's basically buffed version of Shanks' crew is the special that he has. It's a good special ability. So for that reason, I kind of want to put him maybe in the top of tier 4-ish. I think he's probably better than Rayleigh, and I think Whitebeard is still better. Yeah, I think this is actually a really good positioning for this guy. And then the next character that we need to talk about is going to be the last character of the list, which is going to be Borcelino. This character did receive some pretty okay buffs, but he is only focused on shooters and slashers, and those two classes are not the best. So unfortunately, I think this character kind of got the short end of the stick. I think he's still better than Cavendish. I think he's better than Bato. I think he's better than that. He's better than that. I think he's slightly better than Akainu. He's probably around here. This is where I would put it. Actually, technically, he should be better than these guys because he is focused on shooters and slashers. But now we can talk about the Sugo Fest exclusives. We've got Ulti here first. Another super class powerhouse. Can you believe it? The question is where are we going to put this character? Now, I think this character is really good. I think it really reminds me a lot of when Vivi came out, the Summertime Vivi, because she is like very basic and it's not difficult to understand what she does. Like the captain ability alone is like very bare bones basic, but provides good utility and good damage. And then the special ability is like just okay. I mean, like Vivi, I think has a better special than Ulti, and I think her super type special is better than Ulti's super class. I think Ulti is probably around a tier 2, probably around the same level as Who's Who, maybe better than Who's Who. Who's Who has speed capabilities. You know, these characters are very similar to each other. Like, they're just fine. They're not broken by any sense, but they're good. I mean, Powerhouse is probably the best class in the game in terms of the support that they receive, and she's just, again, further support for that class. So you gotta respect what it can do. I think it's pretty solid. And then the final character of the tier list is going to be Hiyori. And now, of course, with Hiyori and Ulti, I don't have either of these characters yet, so it is ultimately hard for me to rank these characters. But if I had to choose whether I'd want to have Hiyori or I'd rather have Ulti, I would personally prefer to have Hiyori. I think she's going to be better in normal content, so ultimately I think she is a better unit in normal content compared to Ulti because of the just a full board of slots in the Wano slots, by the way, and then it goes through block slots, by the way, and locks them as well. And then you have healing, and then you have bind, despair, and is it chain coefficient reduction removal? I think that's what it was. Just the utility is pretty solid. I mean, she is a slasher character, so it's somewhat support for slashers, which is kind of nice to see. But I think they did a pretty decent job at Hiyori. I'm not a big fan of her super type special. I think her captain ability is still pretty reasonable, all things considered. I think Ulti's captain ability is better, but I do definitely prefer Hiyori special. There's going to be a lot of instances where it's like, you know, just a full board of Wano slots and lock them and heal and some utility. That's going to be useful in a lot of content, right? And especially because it's Wano slots that she's giving, because of the fact that they cannot be manipulated by the enemy. There's lots of instances where now they're giving you super block slots, and that can be kind of difficult to deal with. Sometimes you're going to have to deal with enemy revives, and having, you know, multiple turns of Wano slots is going to be good. Sometimes the enemies put them in the slot barrier things, and you have Wano slots, so you don't have to worry about it. There's really cool ways you can abuse this character in content, and I think that this character could be very powerful moving forward, kind of similar in the same vein as Shirahoshi and Manchuri, where it's just a character that has a very useful special that can be used in a lot of instances. I think Hiyori will be in that same vein, though I think that Shirahoshi and Manchuri are slightly better than Hiyori because I think that special that they have is great, but I think that Hiyori balances that out by having a better captain ability compared to Shirahoshi and Manchuri, plus she's a super type character compared to a regular dual unit with no switch ability, so I think that's already an innate advantage. But Shirahoshi and Manchuri special is definitely better. But still saying that though, Hiyori is going to be able to be used in a lot of content, and she has a lot of decent supports too nowadays, with lots of Wano characters getting, you know, characters and support effects. So Hiyori, I think I'm going to put in tier 1. The question is, where would I put her in tier 1? I think that she's probably around the same level here as like Zora and Sanji. That's probably where I'd put it. And with all that being said, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. I mean, there's definitely some characters down here that you could probably inject into some of the lower tiers, but you know, the lower tiers aren't super important as of right now. This Akainu needs to leave, so I'm gonna make sure I do that. But really looking forward to the upcoming month of August. Obviously, as we said, you know, Film Red should be receiving character releases in One Piece Treasure Cruise, and we don't know how extensive that's going to be. Is it only going to be initial release? Is there going to be a full month dedicated to it? Is it going to go through into September as well? As we do know in previous years, typically in September, they do have pretty big celebratory events. So I'm very interested to see if they're going to do the same thing this time around as well. I'm very excited just to see what comes out. I love seeing all these brand new characters released and seeing how good they are. Hopefully we can see some shake up in the top 5 or the top of tier 0. That would be awesome. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.